Okay, we're back, and the thing that I wanted to do does indeed work. Okay, so what we're going to do is taking a look at this. We've got this particular assembly in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different locations. That is a lot of times to have to go back and put all of this additional stuff in, right? Right. So we're not going to do that. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to come over to a model tree. I'm going to give you guys a shortcut that is pretty nifty. So over here in our model tree, again, we've got all of our components. These are our individual components, and the bottom two are our pin head and our alignment pin. I'm going to hold Control, and I'm going to select both of those. Now, with those both selected, I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to go down to where it says Form New Sub-Assembly, okay? And I'm going to click on that. And you can see, watch here in my tree. Now, instead of the alignment pin and the pin head, now I have Assembly 3. If I click that drop down, you can see I've got a pin head and an alignment pin. And you can see if I click on this folder, now all of these assembly folders are going to have this. It's a mates in assembly. You can see that we've got mates already in that folder, so we're not going to have to do as much. So let's go ahead and now, rather than grabbing those two individual components, I'm going to click on Assembly 3, hold Control, and drag it out. And now, if you take a look, it has copied out that entire assembly. So now I've got those. They're already mated together so that I don't have to continue to do that. Okay? And all I have to do now is mate this. I'm going to hit my S key or go to my mate tools. I'm going to come down to the bore. I'm going to mate the bore. I'm going to pull it out a little bit so that I can get down in here to that base of that counter bore. Slide it around to where I can see the bottom. Click. And now you can see that I've gotten a second component in there. So that gives me the ability to go with two different components and basically have that already done for me. So that's really nice. It's just a really nice, easy way to be able to get that particular thing done. Now, we can also come up here to the linear mate patterns. Click the drop down, and we can go to, there should be a feature-driven pattern in here. Linear, circular, pattern, we don't want that. Maybe not. They got rid of it. Yep, so we're going to skip that one. So, now we need to go ahead and continue placing the rest of these, okay? So, we're going to go ahead and drag out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more. So, again, I'm just going to go over to my model tree, hold Control, click and continue to drag them out. 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so now we've got all 7. Let's go ahead and start mating. Again, we're just going to click on a surface, hit my S key to get into my mate tool, and start clicking away. There you can see that I've got that concentric now. I'm going to click the base of the counter bore, the head, and there's 2. Now you can see how much quicker this is to be able to do it this way rather than having to do it individually. Now, if you want to do it individually, to get a little bit more experience with the tools, that's fine. We'll be using mates quite a bit now, so I wouldn't be too worried about it, and these are some of the easier mates. Plus, we are still mating. You're still having to mate that bore to bore, and then pull it out to be able to get down into the counter bore. Now, you can see here one of the downsides to not fully constraining things, because remember, we don't have this thing fully constrained. It is still loose and able to wibble wobble around, right? Oh, I clicked on a point. So the downside to that is that it does move around while you're trying to do this. But I can keep going. I'm going to drop all of these in here. And so if you notice there, sometimes it rotates a little funny when I click and drag around to pan. Well, it's because if you accidentally click on a face or something, it ends up selecting that face to pan around rather than just the origin to your component. So sometimes that does get to be a little bit of a pain in the butt. Nope. And then for some reason it keeps zooming out like that, but that's all right. Nope, too far. Okay. Let's see how many more I have. I've got one more. Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to do this last one. Click there. Pull it out a little bit. maybe. Click down there. Now, one nifty thing that SolidWorks does is you can see. So I clicked on this bore. This bore is, or this the bottom of this counter bore right here, and that bore is on this double link right here. Now, see what SolidWorks did was it shaded out this double link, right? So what that allows me to do is, without having to zoom around or scroll out or move this a little bit more, I can actually click through that double link now, because you can't have two separate mates enacting on the same part. It can't like morph part geometry around, so it's only like part to part. So because I've already selected a part on this this double link, it knows that I'm not trying to select the double link again. So now I can click here, which is technically clicking through the double link, clicking that face, hit my green check mark, and that is it. Now I've got all of those placed. I can pull out on this. You can kind of see what happens as you're dragging and pulling around. You can see components changing and moving around. So I'm going to go ahead and exit that. So that's all of those parts. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of environmental things that we can do to modify a little bit more. So right now we've got this thing and it's all loosey-goosey, right? Well, we don't want it loosey-goosey necessarily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a couple of mates in here that are going to dictate very certainly how all of this moves. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to click on this face right here. And we're going to put a mate between this face and this face here. Because remember, this face on this orange one here, this is a fixed face. I'm going to click this one here and I'm going to put an angular mate in there. So let's go ahead and click on the fixed face, this top one here. Let's go to our mate tool. And then on the left hand side, where it says standard mates, I'm going to come down and there's an angle mate. I'm going to click that angle mate. And then I'm going to click this face right here. Now I don't want it at 30 because 30 is a little bit crazy tight. Let's go 120. You can see that this is now 120 degrees. So if I go ahead and hit my green check mark, now that's 120 degrees. Now you notice it's not fixed in space. It can still move around, right? But it's set at only 120 degrees. Okay? So that's how you do an angular mate. Now I'm actually going to get rid of that angular mate because I want to do something that's a little bit cooler than that even. So I'm going to pull this back out straight. Okay? Now I want to look at this face to this face. Okay? Oh shoot, I didn't mean to do that. Alright, let's not do that. Stop it. Okay. So I'm going to come down here under my advanced mates. And under the advanced mates, you've got a whole bunch of different things. Down here on the bottom, you've got what looks to be just another distance mate and another angle mate. I'm going to click the angle mate, and you can see that it's giving me a bunch of different stuff now, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select those same two faces again. I'm going to come up here, mate selections. I'm going to not the same faces. I'm sorry. I'm going to click this face, which is the top of our fixed link. And then I'm going to click this face right here, which is the top of our the single link. So with that clicked, now you can see it's gone to 30 degrees. So what I can do here is I can give it an upper and a lower limit. Now those limits are going to tell you what it can bounce between. So if I want it to stay at 30 degrees here, which is down here, and then let's say I want it to go to 120 on the top end. So that's a minimum of 30 and a high end of 120. I'm going to go ahead and hit my green check mark, and now we've got our part here. Oh, it's going to go the other way. All right, we got to edit that. I want it to go from 30 to, let's try negative 30. Actually, let's go like this. Let's go 120, flip. Boom, there we go. Okay, so that's 120 to, let's see, 180, let's go 210. So our high end is 210, the low end is 150. So that's as high up as we can go now, right? So I can go up here, but look, it stops. And then I can go down here, and it stops down there as well. So you can see that what this does is this gives us the ability to kind of fool SolidWorks. So SolidWorks can't actually see impacting faces, all right? But what it can do is it can move within constraints that we give it. So doing this gives us the ability to say, okay, you can't physically go past this point or physically go past this point. That kind of lets us make it play like it's actually functioning like real physical components without SolidWorks having to know that those are physical components. Okay, so another one that we can do a let's go back to the mate tool, And let's click on the distance right here. So we're going to click on the distance. We're going to click on this face here. And let's go back to our fixed face on our fixed link. I'm going to click those two. You can see what it's going to do is it's going to take those parallel, first of all, because you can't have a distance between like two wonky ones. And I'm going to put in a distance of 2. And you'll watch, nope, not 20, 2. Now, did you see that move? I'm going to put that as 3 now, and you'll watch the whole thing as it snakes up. Did you see that? Let's go to 4. Nope, not 40. 4. And there it goes up to 4. Okay, so that's going to give us the ability to, if I hit my green check mark now, let's go ahead and get out of the mate tool. So that's stuck at 4 now. I can still shift it from side to side until that goes tight. But you can see how all of our components can shift around. And I can drag this, shift it around, and it's going to modify this one in space, but it's not necessarily going to shift everything else around. And it's kind of going slow right now anyway. But so those are a couple of the mates. I'd like you guys to try those out. I would like you to put the limit mate on this very first link, and then a distance mate on this link. This is just to help me know that you guys have gone that little extra bit to be able to do those mates, to be able to put those in. So that's it. That's the entire link assembly. Not a whole lot to it, but it's a very good introduction into mates, into helping you guys figure out how these things interact and how they talk to each other. Because it's very similar to the way that the sketch pieces do it, but we're working in a 3D space here with all of our individual parts. Go ahead and go to the last video for just final thoughts and finishes up on this particular assignment.